is able of such love. In fact, when we love unconditionally with no expectation of return, this is the single greatest act your heart is able. It is the greatest act, the most powerful act of which your heart is able. Never doubt that. In fact, know it and affirm it. Affirm with me, my heart is able of unconditional love. Put your hands over your heart. Won't you say it with me if you're so moved? My heart is able of unconditional love. Twice more. My heart is able of unconditional love. My heart is able of unconditional love. That's the truth. And nothing but the truth. That's what your heart is capable of at every moment of your life. Mine too. Well, I get to smile with you about that truth. Unconditional love. There is an ancient Greek word that describes this type of love. Any takers? Agape. The English, the anglicized version of agape. Agape is translated as unconditional love, ever-present love, never-ending love. I want you to think about someone right now who loves you unconditionally. Right now. Bring their image to mind. I know their presence is in your heart. But think of that person right now. Just one. You may be blessed to have more than one. I know many of us are. That feeling, what you're feeling right now, that is the love of God. It's more than that. It is God. That is God. That feeling. And we don't only have it with one. We need not only have it with one or two or four. We can have it with the world. We can. I don't stand here and say, oh, that's easy. That's not been my human experience. And I know we can do it. I know it. When I witness the life that Jesus led, I see a life of uncommon, unconditional love. And this is why he could say, without boasting or manipulating, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. If you have seen me, you have seen the Father. Now, why bring Jesus into this? He was a man. He was a man, no more divine than any one of us, but perhaps simply more abandoned, more given to that divinity. We too can give ourselves to love completely. We too can lose ourselves in love. And in the losing and in the giving, find ourselves. This is where our truest power is. No one and nothing has the power to prevent you from giving unconditional love. Under any circumstance, anytime, anywhere. I don't often talk about films. I just saw a film last night. It was called The Railway Man. And it's a true story about a man, a British soldier during World War II, who became a Japanese captive and was brutally tortured. And after the war, he survived. And after the war, he thought that the man who tortured him, and he knew who he was, he knew him by name. He thought that he had been killed as a war criminal. What he discovered 30 years later was that he was alive and in Burma, where they were imprisoned and where the torture took place. And he had set up a museum documenting what took place in that prisoner of war camp. He was making his living on it. And he went there and he confronted him. He went with the intent for revenge. He went with a knife. I will fast forward to the conclusion of the film. And trust me, if you want to see it, if you haven't seen it, I apologize for telling you the ending. It's still worth seeing. By the end of the film, through the process he lived through with this man as he confronted him, as he talked with him, he came to forgive him. They both forgave themselves and one another. And they became fast friends for the rest of their lives. Almost incomprehensible, the brutality that one human being can visit upon another and have that victim surrender their victimhood, to throw it off, and to embrace what was seen as the victimizer. What amazing power there is in the human heart. Incredible. The Railway Man. It's worth viewing. The truth of giving is that all I give, I receive. All the love I share is love pre-sent for me. What is pre-sent? Present. Pre-sent. Sent in advance for me. All the love I give. And the truth is that the gift of your unconditional love, without expectation, is the most powerful act of which your heart is able. Now, Becky Chisholm has a story to share. It's a story of loving unconditional. Becky.
I'm honored to share this story. Some of you are aware that I have been at odds with my sister for well over a year over decisions concerning our mother. And it got so bad that she and I stopped talking. And she even unfriended me on Facebook, which is, you know, how dare she? So, and because my family lives in Kentucky, that also has more ramifications, because that was one way I would stay in touch with my family. Anyway, so I was really at a loss as far as what to do. I mean, I wasn't happy with the way things were with her, but I was still angry at her, and I was still mad, and I still wanted it my way, because, you know, I'm right, and I'm the older sister, so of course I'm right. But anyway, I just didn't know what to do, and in fact, her birthday was in June, and I sent her a birthday card and no response. And I thought, well, that's bad. I opened the door and look what she did. She slammed it. And so anyway, I went to Reverend Dana and I asked him, I said, you know, this is the situation, what can I do? I don't even know what to do anymore. And he said, just send her light and love. That's all you have to do. And about a month later, I got really sick. I got the flu or something. And I called my mom, and it just so happened my sister was at my mom's house when I called. And my mom decided to put my sister on the phone because my sister's a nurse. So I think she thought, well, you know, she has the flu, I'll let her talk. And of course my mom knew the situation, so I was like, oh my gosh, what'd she do? So anyway, my sister gets on the phone and she starts asking me in a very calm and concerned and loving way, you know, how are you and what's going on with you? And I'm like, okay, I'll play along. Okay, well, and then I told her what was going on. And the conversation continued. You know, I always think of the Seinfeld show, a show about nothing. I mean, we had a conversation about nothing, but it was obviously something. But this was the real miracle in it. At the end of the conversation, my sister said, I love you. And my sister is not someone who is the first one to say it, or, I mean, she would never admit anything, and I was so surprised, but I said, I love you too. And I just felt the biggest weight lift. And, you know, and I just spent 2 weeks in Kentucky with my family, and everything was fine with my sister, and it's truly a miracle, because if you had known, and some of you do, how we were, you know, at odds, it really is a miracle. So